But a harpy is no problem for us. That was a relatively low hit die shapeshifter. Love to see it. And now here's a room that was made for Manifold Assault. Let's absolutely just hit everything on the screen. Hit everything on the screen. Can even take a few steps back here just so that we're in a slightly better position while still having view on the entirety of the room here. And see that we're having trouble taking care of these highly evasive enemies. 40% chance to evade us. Not the best, but we're still able to take out the smiters before they deal too much damage, or at least we were able to up until now. Only starting to get concerned. As we get a bit further here, I'm going to take a few steps back, pop around this corner, make sure we have that statue form up, and here we go. This is a much better position for us to fight out of, because all of the smiters are stuck around the corner from us, so we can be a bit safer from those undodgeable attacks. And is Orcs and Elf normal? They actually are. And I believe that part of the reasoning for that is because both the elves and the orcs in this section of the game worship McCleb. That might be wrong, but I know the elves do, or at least I believe they do. So it would make sense from a thematic point that maybe these are some heretical orcs that don't follow the usual trend. Okie dokie. Some demons coming in, not the best, but as long as that demonologist wants to step right to us, we should be okay. And same with the high priest here. As long as you're not smiting me from behind a thick line of enemies, we'll be okay. Oof. As the force lance deals a brutal hit to us. That's not great. In fact, I do kind of want to start on a wee bit of a retreat here. We're unfortunately a lot slower than all of these enemies will in statue form, but we still are able to get ourselves, again, just around another corner, making sure that not too many enemies can hit us at once, and the archers will not follow. So we can try and break lines of sight, run around some corners here. In fact, this is the perfect corner for us to take out some of these archers, unless they want to teleport around. Smiting would indicate following BO. It would, potentially, but the high priests, the elven high priests rather, I do believe invoke the Wrath of McCleb. I don't know if that's actually textual. In fact, yeah, you don't say anywhere. I'm very curious about that. Because you are right that generally we'd be looking at BO, at least if we're following what the player's abilities are with each of the gods. But I think for the enemies in that specific case, we're dealing with something slightly different. There we go. The retreat managed to lose some of our cadre of followers, and we can in fact just head back upstairs. Let's heal up to full. There's no need to prolong it. Ooh, especially come down the stairs not statue formed was a slight mistake there. At least not in danger of being one-shot, at least I would hope not, even though you never know with a Felid. But yeah, that's one of those little lore tidbits that I'm not certain on, because I feel like it's mostly hearsay through various people in the subreddit and stuff that have talked about like which deities each and every one of the holy entities in the game may or may not be worshipping. But that's the one that I read once, and I liked it. I thought it was fitting for the combative nature of the elves. Hello, Yakesh. We will not be fighting you, most likely. Generally not a fan of taking on ghosts, unless absolutely necessary. Take a look at my resistances. We do not have any resistance to cold. Why? Because I did believe... Oh, because when we go statue form, we lose our fur. I think I even had that same mistake last week when we first started the run. But that is definitely good to know, that we are potentially vulnerable to ice. If we're not careful here with our Ring of Fire. In fact, there's almost no reason not to take that off here. And if you want to force lance me to the stairs, don't mind if I just walk the heck out of there. But let's trade that out. And let us maybe go back to Slain here until we run up to another batch of Pyromancers. Immediately, of course, the Pyromancer takes the forward position, but that's okay. Definitely still just fine to take on at least one of them in a straight-on fight here. Perfect. Let's definitely take a sip of my drink. Gotta make sure we're in prime condition here. Each and every moment could be this cat's last. Gotta be in our prime whenever possible. Statue Form's resistance to electricity is an absolute lifesaver on this floor in particular, as we're running into all of the Zephyrmancers and all of the air elementals. Hello friends. Vorpal and Holy, that's not too bad. Oh, speaking of which, forgot to re-engage our statue form, almost to disastrous results. Let's not do that, shall we? And onwards we go. Right as I'm talking about not letting up our attention for even a moment, I of course let up our attention and make some mistakes. But that's alright, we have some leeway here. And do I like the removal of cursed items? That one I do like. I mean, some small part of me pines for the old days when cursed items were even worse than they are now. My favorite example of that was back in the day when wielding something like a cursed club would cause you to be unable to cut up the corpses of your enemies into meat, and so your character would starve to death without being able to switch over to a dagger. But in the iteration that they were sitting at right before the removal, I thought that they never really were a problem for me. I was pretty much always just holding on to a huge thick stack of remove curse scrolls and never had too much trouble getting rid of them, so I don't see too much problem with getting rid of them. Besides maybe the ego that also recurses the item, I thought that was a bit more interesting, but more of an inconvenience than an actual mechanical advantage, or disadvantage rather. So I would argue that yeah, I'm completely on board with that change. In general, I like so much that DCSS has been in a constant state of flux, and so many things have changed from when I first started playing that I'm generally a fan of each and every one of the decisions that the devs have made, because I think that it's always interesting and it keeps it fresh. And it's an ever-evolving game of how the meta is and what kind of skills you need at your disposal, which I think is very fun and very cool. Here we go. We're going to start going through vaults now that we've cleared through to the bottom of Elf 2. And we do find a bazaar, so I'm going to immediately pop in here. We have tons of money, so hopefully we can make use of that. An entire shop full of ID scrolls is not going to cut it. Not exactly what I was looking for, but maybe I'll buy a teleport scroll. Who knows? Oh, and a magic shop. What do I even need for spells right now? I feel like we're very happy with everything we've managed to find so far. Spellforge Servitor, I do want that sometime in our future. Don't get me wrong. So we could buy the Spell of Power, if just for that. That will very much help us in the later game against some of the stronger uniques. Things like Panlords, Orbs of Fire, as well as all the Lords of Hell. I definitely like having the Spellforge Servitor there, giving you a really nice, efficient use of your magic points, and you're much less likely to completely run out in the middle of combat if you have one of those buddies just slinging Lahudib's Crystal Spear at your enemy every turn or so. But I'm going to go through just a few more of these books here, see if there's anything that jumps out at me. Level 9 spells. That's kind of tempting. It's relatively cheap here. I don't know if we'll go the fire route or the air route either, but Firestorm definitely deals a whole lot of damage, and Chain Lightning also has a huge potential amount of damage. I think it's a very variable spell. That's another one that I haven't actually tried out the new version of, so could be something interesting in our future. Some more summoning, not so much. Same with the Papyrus of the Burning Voyage, not quite what we're looking for. And that will be just about everything, not too much that I am in desperate need of. We'll maybe mark the annihilations and mark the power. We can come back to those, seeing what else is for sale. Weapon shop, no thank you. This run, if I remember correctly, had just an absolute crap ton of weapon and armor shops in the first few floors of the dungeon. Very fitting for a Felid run. That is generally how these things go. But okie dokie, it doesn't look like there's too much here that we need. So let's head back, and I will actually buy at least the Book of Power, get that Spellforge Servitor in our books for the future. Book of Annihilations, though. Don't know how I feel about you. It's tempting to do it. We should have a nice amount of gold throughout the entirety of the run here, and in general, it's nice to get any spells that you even might potentially use in the future, because who knows if and when they're going to show up at all throughout the rest of the run. So I think I will actually buy it. Maybe we end up using them, maybe not. 500 gold shouldn't be the be-all end-all of that, and we should be okay. Use some Manifold Assault trying to take on the Centaur, or we'll just run away, pop around the corner. And how is our chance of getting marked? 22% chance of getting the Sentinel's mark placed upon us. It's not great. Definitely don't want to have to deal with an entire vault's floor descending upon our small feline form. Let's maybe switch off the cold. Let's instead go for that ring called Nadis, and that should bring it down to essentially zero, completely zero. I was expecting at least a 1%. That way we just have to deal with the horn call that comes off of that buddy, and we still have our resistance to cold, which is nice against the preserver here. Able to still take this buddy on. Let's start throwing out some manifolds, try and deal with some of these buddies before they come up to us. Also making sure to double check that that wasn't a fire branded weapon, because right now we are sitting with a vulnerability to fire here. And no Colgate, I've not funded any shops, and in fact it's not highly likely that we will on this run. In general, I like to save my money for potion petitions and to bribe branches, especially in the later part of the game. Zot alone makes Bribe Branch one of the better god abilities in the game. But who knows, because we might end up wanting to try our hand at a jewelry shop or two, especially depending on how our resistances continue to shake out over the course of the run here. Because at a certain point, we'll hopefully have enough money that we can afford to call in some shops without having to worry too much about the cost. But I will say that, yeah, Go's Egg I usually use as pretty much a vessel for Potion Petition, the Bribe Branch ability, and of course the Gold Distraction. The Gold Distraction alone is an absolutely incredible boon, especially in an extended fight when half your enemies start taking their entire turns up being distracted by the piles around them. Definitely a good thing. Okay, let's take out the Convoker before they call in even more friends. I should actually leave that Centaur next to us because they're not too bad to deal with. And extra gold as well, you're not wrong. Greed is good, as our lovely deity so often reminds us. Also, you gotta love when an enemy's attack misses you and kills one of their friends. One of the best feeling mechanics that can happen by chance in the game. It did happen once in Elf too. It's all the heavy ranged attackers are almost a boon to us rather than a challenge. Onwards we go. This time I did not check to see if that sword was fire branded. Could have been a poor decision. Definitely could have ended up taking a bit more damage, but it is what it is, and we managed to get through in one piece, and that's all that really matters, right? Survival. feel like Felids, while being very tricky to get off the ground, might actually be one of my better species as long as we get to this stage where I'm feeling comfortable, because one of my main issues, especially in Extended, is the long drawn-out nature and having to stay concentrated for an extended period of time. I eventually will let slip in one very unfortunate, stupid way, but the cat's lives mechanic kind of is a built-in prevention for just that happening, because I can make even a mistake that results in our death, as long as I don't do it too often. And so that's a very nice thing to have at our disposal for me as a player in particular. Oh, you're not going to come? I guess you got distracted and then never ended up showing up. I'll take it. And fun with Rue when Liern and Hydra kills itself in one turn from full health. See, Rue is one of the deities that I've not practiced with or experienced enough of in my own play. That's one that we'll have to pop it on to in a run in the future, because I am very curious what they're all about. And I like the mechanic of having to sacrifice certain skills and having them excluded from ever being learned in exchange for power. I think that that's a very cool, unique idea, and allows you to learn creative things about the run. So many of my favorite combos in this game revolve around the fact that they make you play in a slightly unorthodox way, at least relative to how you would normally play a run, and in doing so, you usually learn a little something. You find out that there are other ways to play the game. Most notably in that department was the species edition for 0.27. I absolutely love the genies. I think the genies, I don't actually know how to say it properly, but I think that they are the true essence of that, because you're not picking which spells you get to learn, so oftentimes you'll get a spell that you've never used a single time in the history of playing DCSS, and you'll learn that it's actually a very cool spell that has tons of uses. My very first run with the genie was able to get, what's that spell called? Yara's Violent Unraveling. And then following that, I got Slow. And so Slow was a spell that I've never actually used myself, and same with Yara's Violent Unraveling, I'd never used myself, but that combination got me through the early section of the game. And it made me learn and kind of appreciate what I had all along. And I thought that that was really fun and very cool. Made me excited for the version in general as my first attempt. Let's take you out, friend. Perfect. I don't know if I want to worry too much about the desolation. Part of that is just some internal bias based on the last time I went there. It was extremely scary. Though to be fair, we were playing as a follower of Quaslal at the time, and I realized the hard way that Quaslal is very much at a disadvantage in the desolation, seen as how there are monsters that remove your cloud's ability to function. Ah, that looks like the desolation there. Well, how am I feeling today? Am I on my game? We've been doing okay so far, so we could try it out. Would be nice to get some more loot, maybe some fun jewelry can be found. In fact, speaking of which, let's maybe drop some stuff before we go into the portal, if that does end up being the case, just so we have enough room for anything that we may or may not find. The ID scrolls can also go. If I play on the next tournament, it's a good time to try out Rue, as Luganu's banner is based around Rue, or at least it has been in previous tournaments, but they could change it though. I do think, yeah, tournaments are a fun time to explore other options as well and experiment, because you are rewarded for it, and especially if you're trying to get as many unique combos as possible. One of my favorite categories in this last tournament was definitely Nemlek's choice, because I found it super interesting to be forced into wild and unusual runs. Especially in that case, it was oftentimes antithetical runs that were a bit problematic in one way or another, but I found it super interesting. And we did get so close to a victory with a Formicid of Trog. Not able to use the Berserk power, of course, but we were still able to use just the sheer utility of Trog in Trog's hand and Brothers in Arms. And so that was really fun. It was definitely a unique experience. You got 2 combo high scores in the last tournament. Nice, that's awesome. We actually put together a little bit of a team just with a few viewers of the stream here, and we had a whole lot of fun. There was no pressure whatsoever. I was especially not gonna insist that anyone do well with my own inexperience in the game sometimes, and I don't always do incredibly well, but definitely had a whole lot of fun, not just in my own runs, but also watching other people's progress and cheering on the whole team. But ooh, okay, we're slightly too low on magic to recast statue form, so I've definitely made a bit of a miscalculation here, because we can take a whole lot of damage over the course of a turn without that at our disposal. We could start running around a bit. These lightning bolts are going to hurt a lot, but as long as there are enemies that aren't resistant to electricity around, they shouldn't be all firing off at us at the very least. So let's take a step, one more, maybe one more, and we'll have enough mana. One more? I'm just waiting for it. There we go. Can even pop around the corner here, get back into statue form, and we'll continue the fight. Ooh, what is hitting us? Blast of power from the earth? Oh, we're next to walls. This buddy's Resonant Strike deals extra damage as the more walls are around you. So that was definitely a misplay on my part. Let's maybe use a Potion Petition a wee bit early here just to play it safe. And we get both types of heal and magic, so that's absolutely huge. We'll immediately pick that up and we can start Manifold Assaulting once more. Manifold Assaulting. Perfect. This is going much better than the last time we were here. We were very unfortunate to also get completely surrounded by enemies right at our entrance gate. Which makes sense, of course, because we were playing Quaslaw and we were making all the noise in the world. So that was a huge hurdle to overcome. But this time around, we're able to take things a bit more on pace here, one-on-one. And that's great. Your combo high scores were with, oh, why am I blanking? Vampire. Vampire, Air Elementalist, and a Deep Health Transmuter. Nice. Although they're not very high scores, that doesn't matter in my opinion. It's all about whether or not it was a successful run, and that alone is something to cheer on and be very happy about. So, well done. Here we go. Now we get to see how we fare against a Crystal Guardian. I'm hoping our high evasion will do decently at avoiding those crystal bolts. Going to be paying a bit more attention, of course, to our magic points this time around to make sure that we aren't caught out on a lurch without statue form available to us. Removing the clouds actually kind of helps us because it means that we can hit slightly more enemies with their Manifold Assault. So we'll do that now and try and get in a few turns of just standard combat here. I do want to take out that Convoker before they call in friends, so I'm tempted to Manifold Assault again, and indeed I will now. Ooh, don't like that, sir. Let's see, our Acid Wand is dealing 4d11. That might be enough. We'll see. At least try it out. Not quite, eh? I guess the other thing that I've been neglecting here is who is resistant to poison. Of course the Saltlings are, that makes sense, but you're not. I probably should have been using a bit of the old school OTR and Ignite Poison combo. Oh, hello. A bunch of friends. What are you able to do? Okay, not too much to us besides being a powerful combatant who's able to reduce our willpower. In that case, let's go with a Potion Petition here. Brilliance in magic is awesome, so we will take that. And scary, scary, scary. Who brought all you lovely folk in? It's all this man's, hey? Hum-de-dum. Gonna slow myself down a bit here. We at least have the capability to start slinging spells left and right with the active brilliance, but we will also be taking a lot of damage at the same time. Vampire Herald Mentos was 4 points, died on D4. Okay, I might actually not be completely aware as to how the combo high scores. I guess nobody else played that combo, or not too many other people at the very least, but hey, points is points. And at the end of the day, if you get the tournament points, then good on you. But okie dokie. I kind of want to haste and heal wounds here, but it's a bit of a tricky ordering, so I might go for another potion petition, since this is a fairly dangerous situation here, and we do have a decent amount of money still. So let's take a peek at what we get. Unfortunately, nothing in that department, eh? And a lot of combinations of just heal wounds, curing, and magic. That's funny. But I'll still take the double heal. That's still not too shabby here. Then I'm just gonna drink a potion of haste myself, and let's start dealing some damage, shall we? You're immune to poison, so I think I will go for the Manifold Assault side. We could blink out of here if we so desired. Don't have Evocable Blink. Don't have Castable Blink, even though that's a spell that we should learn. Now that we have Translocations trained, I don't know why I didn't teach myself Blink. It's definitely in our spell book. This is going to be just a wee bit painful. Those dang desolations will get you. So we could blink, could read a teleport scroll, and just hope that it takes us somewhere slightly safer, and then we just have to survive a few turns here. In fact, I think I might read that. Even if we die, it's not the end of the world. Willpower is also stripped away here. Where does that leave us? Still at 3 pips. So it's not the end of the world. Now I just need to survive a few more turns, so we'll do yet another potion petition. Unfortunately, all the healing is paired with Berserk Rage, which is a wee bit scary. But still probably worth it. Maybe I should have just drank a heal wounds potion on my own. Thanks, Gozag. But could put ourselves Berserk. Still be able to drink potions. We won't be able to potion petition again. That might not even be right. I think I'm confusing Berserk status with a few others, but let's try it out. Hopefully gets enough health that we can survive, and we are at least hasted, so even after our teleport kicks in here, we'll have a moment of rest to appreciate. No, and I'm too berserk to drink potions. Okay, so I totally misremembered how things worked. Whoops. Let's see, who's dealing the most damage to us, shall we? 20 from you. These buddies hit pretty hard. 30 plus their weapon. Let's take a swing at one of them. Slowly losing health here. We might lose a life. Ooh, okay. Not yet at the very least. Now we have fast and slow in conjunction with each other. But we managed to outlast the Berserk, so that's good. And now the question becomes, do we want to potion petition or heal ourselves manually here? Or do we think we're in a good enough spot to take care of these few buddies, and then we might have an opportunity to actually heal up the old-fashioned way? Hum-de-dum. Let's drink 1 heal wounds just to play it safe, shall we? We do have barbs in our skin, that's too bad, but we'll do some Manifold Assault. Manifold Assault, the pile of salt. Fitting. Hello, friend. Perfect. The slow from Berserk wore off without too much worry, and there we go. We're back to being healed up. The summons were taken care of. Let's stay in our nice little hallway here that we've discovered. This is an absolutely wonderful place to make our final stands here. And in fact, don't mind stacking on a whole bunch of Manifold Assaults, just leaving ourselves just 1 point under enough to recast statue form, but that was okay. Regained it in just a single turn. and not too bad. Now let's meow. We do hear a shot, not a shot, rather a shout. But this is definitely the place where we'd prefer to do all of our fighting. In fact, if the Invoker wants to call in some more friends, I do not mind whatsoever. This is the time to do it. Ooh, that's a lot of friends though. But Manifold Assault is really efficient while we're in these hallway situations because we are able to deal damage to all those backline buddies before they get the chance to walk up to us. And now we're going to switch off whether we use our spells or save up just in case we lose our statue form. But OTR is an absolutely brilliant cast against this array of enemies. We'll even blow up all that poison, try and take out the Convoker before that final cast. Perfect. And essentially going ideally here so far. Can't complain, even despite the fact that we had to spend a decent chunk of change to get ourselves out of the horrifying original situation. LRD and pass wall, we get the ring via Forge. Fire, resist corrosion, MP +9, dex -5. Meh, not my favorite ring for sure. Manifold Assault seems good. I think it's an incredible spell. It is super fun to use too. And yeah, there are a lot of really cool combinations you can do with it. I mean, something like this character, where we're just able to output a huge amount of unarmed damage, is really cool. But the dream run that I haven't had the opportunity to try out myself yet, but I've heard about, is where you get Manifold Assault in combination with an item like the Dark Maul, a huge two-handed weapon that deals ridiculous sums of damage. And that's where you truly can see it take out entire screens of enemies in a single fell swoop. And I think that that's really fun. For the longest time, my spells go-tos were unchanged. It was always, I want Olgleb's Toxic Radiation and Ignite Poison, and then I'm going to train up to have Ignition by the late game. And that's what I did on essentially every caster that I played. But now, things are a bit more interesting, and we get to have some fun with a wider selection of spells, and especially since Translocations itself was kind of an undervalued skill, at least in terms of offensive power, so often it was just pure utility. I think that it's really cool to give that spell school something a bit more offensively minded. I think that's really sweet. Does it work with anti-magic brand applied to everyone? That's, yeah, another good question. I don't know off the top of my head. I would assume so, because I do believe that it just fully applies all of the on-hit effects of whatever you're carrying. So yeah, I do believe that you'd be able to take on an entire room of spellcasters without too much trouble with that combination, which is very cool. But okay, we managed to make our way through the desolation, spent some money, but we ended up picking up a whole bunch off the corpses as well, getting back up to our 6,000 gold here. So that is pretty solid, and we did find some spell books as well. Not 100% sure if we'll end up casting any of those spells, but it's nice to have options in our back pocket here at the very least. So I am relatively happy with how it went out. I guess very happy if I'm going by my usual metric of we survived, so how bad could it have possibly been? Especially, again, considering the last time we made our way through that time portal, it was an absolute nightmare. Let's throw out a few casts of Manifold Assault here. No reason to let all these enemies get next to us, especially that Eden, if they managed to hit, would have been applying large sums here, which our cat does not handle very well. Oh, Halberd of Flaming. Oof. Let's switch off of our ring here, shall we? And in fact, let's just go for that fire resistance. Why the heck not? Perfect. So I will switch it out right away before I forget. Oh, and I didn't see us pick up the Ring of Lasir here. That's what I get for not paying attention. Warpers do indeed start with Manifold Assault. Yeah, actually, I think a week and a half ago or something like that, I showed off a really fun combo run to do, and it's in one of the sprint modes of the game. If you do the Arena of Blood and start as a Genie Warper, It allows you to not have to spend any turns memorizing Manifold Assault, and so if you're just able to get the first kill off in that sprint, you just start being able to kill everything on screen with the plus infinity enchanted Axe of Woe, and it's one of the more fun runs to try out. If you're just feeling like wasting some time on a busy day or a stressful day and you just want to have fun and do some silliness, it's an absolutely hilarious combo to try out. I'd highly recommend it. But yeah, they do indeed. So if you want to force the Manifold Assault run, you can always just go Warper and you can try it out. So you don't run out of health in that one, because in the Arena of Blood, the only god or deity you can worship is Macleb. And while normally, especially in the newest edition of the game, Macleb isn't quite as consistent in the number of heals that you get on kills, because of the specific way in which that sprint mode works. You actually get, sorry, I'm not doing a great job of explaining this. Because of the high hit die for on each and every monster you hit there, you pretty much always replenish your health. Even if you take a bunch of damage on the turn, you end up healing a bunch. And so it's a really fun maneuver. And in fact, people have used it to get such high scores in that sprint that you loop back into negative numbers. You get an integer overflow. But this buddy is hitting us every single turn here. Absolute brutal. I'm going to Potion Petition here, hoping for, yeah, heal wounds in conjunction with something else. And that will definitely do it. Haste is huge. Let's just take that buddy out. Rather be safe than sorry here, and we have money to spare, so why the heck not? Use it when we can, right? So we take a bunch of ranged hits as well, not great. But if we can just get into this little hallway. Ah, right. Paralysis. That is wild. 4% chance, and he hit us with it at an inopportune moment. Almost lost one of our cat lives there. But that's okay. We're not even wearing a second ring right now, so let's put on our willpower. And we'll throw out yet another Potion Petition here. Ooh, the healing is paired up with Berserk. Not great. Since I don't know how well we'll do against even a single turn of taking damage here, but we might be able to finish off this group of enemy, and if not, we're not in a much worse position than we are now. So, as long as our statue form doesn't run out, we will not regret this decision, and indeed it did not. Perfect. Just wait out the slow from that. Yeah, Colgate, I would highly recommend trying it out for yourself at some point if you want to see how it works and how just kind of silly, good fun it is. Especially since on the run where we did it, I just lost a very promising character, and we had a bit of extra time after stream, so it was a fun way to let off steam after a bit of a stupid death on my part. The hardest part is just getting it rolling, because you die in one shot when you first spawn in, so you have to kind of just cross your fingers and hope you get the opportunity to at least land one hit on a bag of meat, as the enemies are called in that mode. And then you're able to just cascade that into a fairly successful attempt almost each and every time, with a few lessons to be learned on the specifics of some of the enemies that you end up facing later on, because none of the enemies you face in the meat sprint, as it's also affectionately called, are ones that you normally run into. Is it okay to discuss Trunk, or do I want to avoid spoilers for 1.28? No, definitely go right ahead. I'm very happy to. And in fact, somebody the other day was talking a little bit about the changes to Okawaru with the new dual ability, and I thought that sounded very cool and was very interesting to hear about. In general, I'd argue that I don't worry too much about spoilers for this game in general, seeing as how so often the only way to truly have consistent play in the game is to look stuff up. There's just so much to learn, and because I enjoy trying out new versions and seeing what they have to offer, I oftentimes need to look up some of that stuff. But ouch, took some bad hits there. Metal splinters, and Again, this Vault Warden, absolutely brutal. Let's see. This is somewhere where we might want to learn a spell like IMB in the future. Something that can just push enemies off of us, give us a wee bit of space. But as for now, I'll just Manifold Assault, trying to hit both these buddies at once here. And we'll take a few turns fighting the Vault Warden in hand-to-hand combat. And in fact, speaking of learning spells, let's take a look here, right? Because we should learn Blink, probably. That would also be a nice temporary way to achieve similar results with a bit more variance, because so oftentimes you will just blink right next to another enemy. But is there anything else we'd like to learn, especially in these, or this department back here, where it's all stuff that we're able to cast? Ozakubu's is coming down and is just about castable, sitting at 12.3 ice magic skill, so that's pretty sweet. And in tournaments, there are banners for every god, and 0.28 adds a new god. I wonder, does that mean that there will be a new banner? Ooh, yeah, it's... Ooh, I'm blanking on the name of the god, but it's like the flame god buddy, right? Who, you start out at max piety, and you slowly lose piety throughout the run because they're a dying god. Ignis, right, yeah. I always think Ignite in my head, and I confuse the two when we get marked. So let's run upstairs, wait that out, so we don't have to worry about it. But yeah, I'm very excited to try out Ignis myself. Very curious how that interacts. Because they have an ability that's the flip side to the Formicid's dig shaft ability, right? They can propel you up a floor instead. I think that that's a very fun escape option that I'm curious to use in the future, especially when you know that it's only a limited number of times that you can use it throughout the course of the run. That's the exact type of thing that I love about the development cycle in these games, is the devs keep coming up with fun new mechanics and cool ideas that haven't been explored before, and I think that it's very cool and very fun. Definitely exactly what I'm looking for in my dungeon crawling experiences. So you can kill two gods during a run. Jivia and Ignis both. That's a absolutely fantastic way to put it. Always like to be a bit of a god slayer. Feels good. It also, though, of course, just makes me tempted to try my very best to not let Ignis die over the course of a run. Because I have actually read, I think, somewhere in the subreddit or something like that before, people joking around about how it's their headcanon that if you escape with the Orb of Zot, your character takes it back to Ignis to reinvigorate the god and reinstate their godly status. I think that that's a cool way to think of it. Very much appreciate that kind of headcanon flavor. I think it's really fun. It is pretty sad with Ignis. I would argue that it's also a bit sad with Jivia, because at the end of the day, Jivia is just doing their best to remain unchangeable in perpetuity? Is that how you pronounce that word? I feel like I read that word a lot, but I don't say it very often. It's funny how often I run into that problem when I'm on stream. So I'm somebody who has done more reading than I have, I guess, using big words in conversation. Oh, hello, Boris. You looking for a new pet? Probably not. Bolt of Cold as well. Oh wait, but we're good there. Yeah, we have double pips of cold resistance. We'll go down to 1 with statue form, I guess. Do I think I can take on Boris? Not really is the answer I come to. A bunch of these abilities are very near, if not completely able to one-shot us. I'm looking at you, Orb of Destruction. Though that's not quite as much of a concern if we are next to them. We could silence Boris, I guess. We have 3 scrolls of silence. I do feel like this might be a good use of it too. Oh, I can't silence. Damn it. I'm an idiot. I should have statue formed before casting silence. Whoops. In that case, though, we can run away a little bit. Of course, we have to be slightly cautious here because our silence perimeter isn't quite as long as some of his range. Oh, this is a dead end. That's not great. Well, big oofs. Big oofs. Boris can definitely see invisible, right? Yeah, anything that late game. So I took a risk here, and it did not end up being worth it. A few more turns of silence to go. I guess I will step up to Boris. Well, that silence is in effect. Might lose one of our lives here. Oh, especially with, yeah, Orb Destruction. That's fine, though. We'll rejoin the land of the living, and we're 1 life down, so that's our 2nd time dying. We will gain another life as long as we manage to get ourselves back up to level 21. So we'll try our best to do that, but definitely made some mistakes there. It's been too long since I used Scrolls of Silence to any real efficacy, or more specifically, I guess lately I've only been using them with melee characters. So it's a good wake-up call, a reminder that we are still vulnerable. We are mortal, and we can bleed.